Hey, what's up, guys? We are back. It's Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda podcast. And you know what? Let me say this first. Today, we're talking about here's why COVID has caused divorces to skyrocket in 2020. I want to just say what we're talking about first. You know what I mean? That way, we can keep you interested while we talk this other crap before we get into the actual show. Because I haven't seen Rachel in a while, and she hasn't seen me in a while. We've both been traveling like crazy for various reasons. Mostly work for me, a little bit of fun. I had a bachelor party, which was interesting, which I'll touch on a little bit on today. So just a little bit, just to give you guys some fun stuff before we talk about why these divorces has been skyrocketing. Rach, how are you doing?
Good.
Always nice to see you.
Yeah, been doing a little bit of traveling, just visiting family and friends and just trying to get out of LA.
Right. Like we all have, right? Well, if you're joining us for the first time, we are a relationship podcast. We expose the truth and broadcast the lies. We're going to switch to Wednesdays, guys, if you've been following us, because my other podcast, because we're not as popular as this, me and Rachel's podcast, I have to kind of up the game. We have 1,000 subscribers now. So I have to kind of do more editing on the other show. Our show, we don't need that because we're so hot, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So I switched my other show to Friday and switched me and Rachel to Wednesday, so we could just have more time to get these shows to you guys. But yeah, we're a podcast about relationships. We just bring it all to you guys. Love, sex, marriage, friendships, everything. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe, guys, on YouTube, ICT Group Digital. And thank you for watching where you get your podcasts, you know. And if you want to email us, it's rptalktruth@gmail.com. Now, funny enough, Rachel doesn't have any dating stories.
I don't. The only funny thing that happened was I went to Florida to visit a friend of mine in Fort Lauderdale.
Right.
And we were at a bar, and I kind of picked up a sugar daddy, I think accidentally, but this guy was like so into me. My friend has like this big friend group there. These guys got money, dude. Like you should see their
Florida
houses.
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Oh my God, their houses on the water, boats.
On the water. I was gonna say that. Yep.
Oh my God. So this guy was older. He actually lived in LA for a while, and we were going to a pool party, and I didn't bring my suit with me because we had done like a Sunday brunch.
Yeah.
And he just gives me his black card. He goes, go across the street, pick out whatever you want. And I was like, cool, thanks.
Yeah, that's how those dudes play, man. It's nothing for them.
That's crazy.
And I grew up in South Florida, so I can relate just seeing all the homes
did you?
and the boats. And yeah, I grew up in Miami, so
just
knowing about Star Island and everything, I grew up with that, man. So I get it. Yeah, a lot of my friends have those houses and boats too, so. Oh, yeah, that's totally Florida. And I miss it. It's humid. I don't miss the humidity, but I miss that kind of vibe and lifestyle about Florida. It's a little different from LA. A little different, you know?
Yeah, and I had gone to Georgia, too, to visit my aunt and uncle, and it's like wide open there. You can sit at a bar. There's no masks. There's no social distancing. I was like, wow.
That's how it is in Louisiana. Yeah.
Isn't it interesting to see how other parts of the country are behaving right now? Yeah,
it's interesting. You know, I was talking to my daughter's aunt yesterday, and I was saying, you know, I've been to Louisiana maybe about 4 or 5 times already in the past 2 months, and knock on wood, I haven't gotten anything. And if I did, I was asymptomatic and just never knew, because I've been flying like crazy.
I know, me too. And I actually just got my first test yesterday because I'm going to see friends of mine in San Francisco this weekend. So do you have the global entry, like the TSA pre-check thing when you travel?
I applied for it. I'm waiting for right before I applied. No, COVID hit right after I applied. Okay. So my interview, I'm still waiting on my interview.
Yeah. So you got to go to San Francisco.
Oh, serious?
What you have to do. Yeah. Cause nowhere in California is taking appointments. LA, San Diego, nowhere.
Did they message you or did you call them?
Mine expires on Sunday.
Oh.
And so I've been trying to renew it. And like at first it said San Diego, like the earliest appointment was like May 2021 or something crazy. And now it just says nothing, and LA is nothing. So San Francisco's taking appointments every day. So I was
I'm gonna have to call and see if I can finally get my interview.
Yeah. So I have a free flight from some getting canceled for COVID. So I have friends that live like an hour north of there. So I booked my flight. I'm like, okay, my birthday's Sunday. So I was like, cool.
Your birthday's this Sunday?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday, Ray.
Thank
That's crazy. That's right. Because you and Crispy are both Libras. Yeah. His is the following weekend. We're going to go to San Diego and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, happy birthday, man.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
So these are my friends in the open marriage that live up in like wine country, and they have a new friend that's like their friend Hannah, who I know, that's staying there.
Yeah.
So I was like, cool, I'll just come hang with you guys. And then he texted me the other night and he goes, would you mind getting a COVID test tomorrow? And I was like, okay, but I'm flying there Friday. So I thought he was saying it because I had just flown a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
But the lady who owns the vineyard that they live on, and she lives in like basically this beautiful, beautiful house, and they're in like a guest house. So she's around them all the time, and she's in a wheelchair and she's older.
Oh, I see.
I guess she's very susceptible to it. So he's like, would you mind going? He sent me the place. I go, okay. He goes, I got my results back in 2 days. And I go, okay. So I went, but I'm like, what if my results aren't back by the time I get there Friday night? He's like, we'll figure it out. I'm like,
yeah. And then what if, but what if you're on a flight and you contracted and don't know?
Well, that's why I initially said that to him. I'm like, well, I'm flying there. And he was like, just wear a mask. I'm like, okay. So I guess the lady who owns the property just wants anyone who's going there to have been tested recently.
That makes sense.
So yeah. I think it's more just for them to say to her, like, yeah, she just got it back. She's fine.
That makes sense. So I've been traveling for work and I've been dating, and I have a couple of things I want to touch on before we talk about today's show. One, I went to Northern California and hung out with this batshit crazy girl that I met on one of the dating apps.
Is this the one you told Liz and I about in Arizona?
Yeah, we had a good time, but now I can talk about this stuff a little more.
Yeah.
We had a good time, but she was batshit crazy, and I had to skedaddle up out of there. You know what I mean? That's the only crazy story I have. But one of the things I think I've learned.
I bet our audience wants you to elaborate on that.
Oh man, audience, we're gonna have to talk about it. It's just too much. It'll take up most of the show, man. But beautiful girl, met on the dating app, and the funny thing is, I had been trying to like talk to her for a while. Okay. I mean, I'm talking months and months and months and months and months. When me and my ex broke up, she hit me up again. I said, hey, let me finally come and see you. So she did, and kind of told me she was bipolar and had like some personality things going on. I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? She has a daughter, you know what I mean? And oh my God, it was a big deal. And but you want to know something, Rach? It's funny how stuff happens, because had I not experienced that going to see this girl, in retrospect, I wouldn't have understood what my daughter's mom had been going through when we were married. Okay. And it also helped me greater understand the dentist that I was with here in town when we were together, because they both had the same thing. My daughter's mom since then have gotten help for it. She's doing amazing. My ex here in town, the dentist, not so much. And it was the same thing. This woman was just a notch above them, but it was the exact same thing. And it gave me an understanding about that.
There's bipolar type 1 and 2. So she was probably the more extreme one.
Exactly. And it was scary, and I had to skedaddle up out of there. But we had a good time, though, before I skedaddled up out of there. You know what I mean?
Before she started hearing voices?
Exactly. Before she started hearing voices in the middle of the night. And, before all that.
Well, I think you and I at some point should do an episode about dating people with mental illness, addiction.
Let's do it.
That might be one that we would want to maybe have Liz on too, because I don't know if she doesn't mind me saying this. I'll just say she's been with somebody before that they thought initially was bipolar, and then it turned out had some borderline, which was similar. So she like knows all about this. So the guy that I was dating, my quarantine boyfriend there for a few months, he had something. So I initially thought he was bipolar, because same thing. He would be up and down and sideways. And I'm like, I never knew what person was going to show up. And when I told Liz about it, she said, actually, it sounds like he has borderline personality disorder. Yeah. And I mean, he would wake up and hear voices and stuff, like he'd have to go meditate.
Same thing.
Yeah. And so she and I talked a lot about, because I was like, what do I do when he's like this.
Yes.
You know, and she had all these coping mechanisms from being with somebody before who, you know, had issues too. So I think that would be a good episode in the future. That's on like my list for us to talk about.
Let's do it, man. I love Liz. I love having her on. Let's do it.
And that episode is getting a ton of traction. Did you see how many comments we got? Like, I didn't realize, like, and she said to me, she said vaccines and circumcision are huge topics right now.
Yeah.
Like, she does all the research and everything. And like, we were like blowing up with, we never usually get that many comments and views, especially. I was like, wow, people are really interested in this. It's fascinating.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. You know, one last thing I want to say before we get into the show, we're like 10 minutes in already, is when I was in Louisiana this last time, me and one of the producers there, Corey, he told me, we went to like this casino one night there in Baton Rouge, and he said, man, on the way home we were talking, he goes, dude, I'm looking for my unicorn. And I said, you know what? I feel the same way. And if you look at the hot, crazy matrix that one guy put out, it was so popular. And he and I both were saying, and you know, after my last relationship, Rach, I'm tired of like settling. And you know, and I'm honestly at this point looking for my unicorn. I don't want to waste anyone's time anymore. I don't want to waste my time. You know what I mean? As that matrix says, she has to be below a 4 crazy and at least an 8 to 10 hot.
Yeah, the hot matrix.
Yeah, she has to be. You know what I mean? And like that guy says, you know, if you find that, capture it, hold it. You know what I'm saying? And she may not be in California. She may be in Russia. She may be in Greece. She may be in Amsterdam. The earth is big. Well, but honestly, I know there's someone out there like that I'm going to connect with. And that's what I'm waiting for.
That's why I bumble when I travel, and I set my mileage, you know, as far as I can, because like LA guys aren't the most committal guys, you know what I mean? So I've always thought that too. I was like, I'm not tied to LA. Like, I'm kind of down with whatever, but you know, I think for a woman, it's easier for me because I don't want children. Right. Because a lot of my friends want kids.
They want,
so they're just trying to
find. That clock is ticking. Right.
And they're trying to find a guy in LA and not having a lot of luck.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm with you. I'm not into settling because I'm not in a rush.
Yeah, me either. After my last one, me either. And I really liked her, and I'm sorry it didn't work out, but yeah, I'm not into settling anymore. I'm not gonna do it anymore. If I say someone's my girlfriend again, best believe it's gonna be a unicorn. That's all I gotta say.
Well, and you've already had kids that have been married too. You know what I mean? So like, you're not in a hurry. Yeah,
I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry at all. Anyway, guys, let's get into today's show. We're like 12 minutes in. Rachel and I had to catch up.
On the clock.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other in a while because I only said that because we told her we're talking about one thing. We're talking about all this other stuff. But I'm sure you guys enjoy listening to us just babble when we catch up and stuff. It's all good. So yeah, like I said, we're going to talk about why COVID has caused the divorce rate to skyrocket this year. I'm ready to talk about it. I think it's an interesting subject. Rachel brought it. Let's get into it, Rach.
All right. So I'm just going to read, because I did a quick screenshot of an article I was reading that says the number of people looking for divorces was 34% higher this year compared to last year. And this is just from March through June.
Wow.
So I imagine it's gone up.
Wow.
Because I am seeing, especially in recent months, you know, I think as far as probably like around July, August, I was starting to, I'm getting calls from friends, family, like, I don't think this is going to work. I'm going to have to look into, divorces, people moving into different bedrooms, people locking their spouses out of bedrooms. Honest to God. And so what the article said was, the combination of stress, unemployment, financial strain, illness, homeschooling children, mental illness, that's all put a significant strain on relationships.
Right.
Because every state is different, but I know friends in certain states that are having to work from home, their spouse is working from home, and they're having to homeschool their kids.
All in one.
Right. I think if you don't have a solid foundation, right, if you're not one of those couples that's solid, and it's, really made that commitment,
right?
If you're already having problems, all of this is just going to bring that out even more to
absolutely
the point of no return, I think. Now, are you seeing any of this, or is this just in my world?
No, You know what's funny? I think I am kind of seeing it. And one of the questions I was going to ask you is, does this mean that time apart is healthy? Or is it just a matter of, if you don't have a solid foundation, when in a time of crisis, it could just fall apart? You know what I mean?
I think both, but I think you're absolutely right about the time apart. So, you know how I told you my mom had married her ex-husband?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been solid for years, you know, like, cause they're both Capricorns. They had a lot of, you know, they both like to control, they have control issues, they have communication issues.
Right.
But all of that, you know, kind of went away. And then Imani, when I went home in July, I don't know what is going on with my mom, but she drove me crazy. Like, she's working from home every day.
Right.
And it's just like, and she has just been so needy, like texting me like crazy. And I'm like, what is going on with you? Like, she's driving, she's doing this to my siblings too. She's driving us all crazy. She's driving her husband crazy. So I noticed when I was there, she was like picking fights with him a lot.
Yeah.
But he's going into work. So it's just her. Like, I think she's just home alone all day.
And sick of being home. And
well, I think she just needs attention because she's home alone all day. And so she's not getting that interaction. So she's bugging all of us. And, you know, when someone smothers you, what do? You want to run away, right? So she was driving us crazy. I've been like ignoring her texts because I'm like, I can't, like, she's just driving me nuts. So like, she was picking fights with her husband. So I hear now through my brother that they're now sleeping in different bedrooms. Like, they started
which
fighting.
they were doing before, right? You told me a while ago.
No.
Oh, okay. I thought you said
or maybe one of our last episodes, they were starting to have problems.
Right.
So we flew to Michigan in August for my sister's wedding. And like, by the end of the trip, and they didn't stay in the same place. By the end of the trip, we were all in the airport with them. They weren't even talking. And they got back and she was like, you know, he said he's done. He's, you know, done with this marriage.
Yeah.
Because what happened was they were starting to fall into their old routines.
Okay.
Where he would get mean drunk and like lash out. And she's like, I'm not, you know, it's all a control thing. You know, I'm not taking this verbal abuse. Like, they both want to be the first one to walk away. Right. You know, to have that upper hand. It's so stupid. But it's not good. Yeah. So, what I was going to say about you saying the time apart. So she used to do travel nursing. And so she would go away for 3 months at a time. I said to her when they first got back together, I said, keep doing the travel nursing because it's going to save your marriage. And she was like, oh, you know, at one point she goes, he doesn't want me doing it anymore. And so now I'm like, okay, instead of making an impulsive decision and rushing into divorce, because that's what Capricorns do. They make impulsive decisions, right? They make decisions out of emotion instead of logic. They just jump into it. So I said, both of you are impulsive. Like, they're the first ones to say, I'm done. I'm done. As soon as they get in a fight, I'm done. Right. And do you remember like Will Smith and Jada always said divorce is not an option? Right. I remember that from when I was a kid. And I was like, that's the mentality you have to have a successful relationship. It's not an option. Right. My aunt always said that word's not allowed in my house. So I said to her, I think before you rush into anything, I think you need to go back to travel nursing, right? Go away for a couple months. Yeah. You know, and then maybe he'll miss you and maybe you can work it out instead of jumping into divorce again. Like, you married each other again. You know what I mean? Right. Like, come on.
Divorced, then remarried. Now you want to divorce again. Yeah. Well, you actually remarried for a reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. But maybe she does need some time apart, so she doesn't have to deal with those stresses and stuff like that.
I think he needs the time.
Yeah.
He needs the space.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's working away, right? But she's still at home.
Yeah, all day.
Right.
So it's like I'd get up in the morning and she'd be like, hi, you know, I'm like, oh God, I just woke up. Leave me alone. Yeah. Yeah, it's that constant need for attention. When you're home all day long, you're like, you know, some people go crazy. Because like you know, I think you and I are used to living alone. I like it. But she's not used to that. She's always had a house full of kids. You know, we always lived with my grandmother. So I think her being alone all day it's not a good thing. And it's not a good thing for relationships. And I think, you know, and I have friends too, that and their husbands are home all day long on top of each other, working from home, kids, homeschooling the kids. Like, that's so much stress. If you're with that person all day long, I feel like you're going to be taking that out on the other person.
Absolutely. I mean? I completely agree. I mean, to answer your question here where I am, I think the people that are divorced are probably already divorced. You know what I mean? And people are just kind of hanging out because you know, and a lot of people are working from home and stuff, but I honestly think this is one of those towns that the women that are not happy, they were already messing around. Because remember I said I was a side guy here when I first moved here.
Yeah.
And then the women that, and the people that are divorced are just divorced. And I think the people that are still together are some kind of way making it happen. Because I haven't heard of too many people getting divorced that I know of. But this is one of those towns where people swing and stuff anyway. And they're always at the wineries and, you know what I mean? Yeah. So, but I'm sure if I go to LA, it's probably a completely different story.
I know. And what do you think too about like, okay, like just being the side guy, right? These couples that, you know, the husband or the wife has always cheated.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's hard to do that because restaurants aren't open. You're not going into the office.
Tough. Yep.
Right. So I had an affair with my old boss like 10 years ago when I had first moved here.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I got a boyfriend, you know, probably about a year later. And so we stopped sleeping together probably like 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has been hitting me up through like trying to come over. And like,
and he's still married?
Yes. I think same thing. I think he's going crazy.
He's just, he's working from home too?
Because you can't go into the office in California. He still goes in sometimes.
Okay.
But I mean, none of his employees are, you know? So I think he's going crazy because like when I met him, he was 49. Now he's like in his late 50s. Like, no, like I'm good.
Right.
You know, I don't even think I would be into him anymore or anything, but he keeps being like, oh, I'll come over. I'll bring booze. I'll bring lunch. And I'm like, no, you're not coming over my house.
Right.
So I think he's so desperate because he can't find anyone to have an affair with.
Yeah, and they're at home, they're forced to face each other.
Yes.
Constantly. You're forced to look at each other, talk to each other, engage in each other all the friggin' time.
Right.
So that makes you go, who else is out there? Let me get out of here. Let me just get away from this person. Like they're driving me crazy. Like, and think about two couples that are like the financial strain right now with, you know, people being unemployed or their hours are being cut. I mean, I think that's a huge thing too. My uncle always said, you know, married couples fight over two things, sex and money. Right.
So probably a lot of both of that going on right now, I think.
Right. And you know, it's funny, what I have seen is a major uptick in like the dating app people that's trying to talk to you. I mean, dude, let me show this to the audience. My Hinge has never looked like this, ever. I mean, it's
everyone's home.
Yes, everyone's home.
Everyone's bored. You can't go to a bar.
Yep, you can't go out. My Hinge has never, ever looked like this, guys, ever. I mean, I can go to Bumble.
Girls Gone Wild.
I can go to Bumble, and it's the same thing. My Bumble has never looked like this, ever. You know what I mean? Like every other day, someone's hitting me up like, hey, you know what I mean? Anyway, so there's been an uptick. And you know what's funny? I don't know how many of these women are married or were in serious committed relationships.
Right.
And are just looking for, maybe that has something to do with it.
Right.
And I didn't think about it until you brought today's show up, but that could have something to do with it.
Are you seeing any friendships ending during this whole thing too?
You know, it's funny, just ran into a friend recently in Old Town and he was talking about that. So just a little bit. Okay. Just a little bit. Not a lot.
Because it's not even just marriages and relationships I'm seeing, but even lifelong friendships. So like throughout when the riots were going on, right? The George Floyd thing. A friend of mine, she only dates black guys and she's white. And she said to like this girl's been her best friend for years and years. You know, she made a comment, not being offensive at all. She just said she felt safer when we had the curfews driving to his house than him as a black man driving to her house because he had got profiled before and had like 15 police pull guns on him.
Wow.
For a bank robbery, and it wasn't him.
Right.
And so she said, I just felt safer driving during this than having him come to me.
Right.
And her friend, who's also white, won't talk to her anymore. They have been friends for years and years. And she was like, I'm so disappointed that you would say, like, my friend is obviously not racist. She only dates black men.
Right.
And she will not, this was months and months ago when all this was going on. She's not talked to her. My friend has reached out. She has called her. She has sent texts.
Interesting.
She
and both friends are white and one dates brothers. Got you.
Yes.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. What's the big deal?
I think people are just, they're going crazy right now. And everybody is so sensitive with everything going on.
Yeah.
Because I had another friend too, when we went to Arizona, when you and I did the podcast out there with Liz, we had a fourth girl who booked the house, who was supposed to meet us out there and never showed up for the trip. Because she got upset that my friend asked if she could invite like the guy that she was dating and his buddy out for, like a night or two.
For a night or two, yeah.
Yeah. And her friend was like, I can't believe you would ask that. Like, what, I'm not enough for you? They never talked again. It's crazy.
Wow.
I'm like, people are acting crazy right now. Like everybody's on edge. Everybody is so sensitive.
It's a big shift because we're so used to being so social and, you know, around each other and solid communication contact and just communicating. And it's definitely been a change and a big shift socially, you know, and it's just trickling down, I think, you know.
Well, and also like domestic abuse has gone up a lot because, you know, everything's going up, right? Suicides.
Yep, I heard about that.
Yeah, drug overdoses. So another thing that's gone up is domestic abuse. And like, Imani, this is so crazy. This girl that I grew up with, she married her high school sweetheart. Like right out of high school, they had like 4 kids. And then all of a sudden this past year, I noticed that she was married to a new guy and had his kid. And I was like, that's so crazy. Cause like she was with the ex, since high school.
Yeah.
Like, I never thought they were going to split. So all of a sudden the other day I see on Facebook, there's a GoFundMe for her because of domestic abuse. And, you know, it didn't really say the whole story, but it said that she, you know, her and her kids have been living with this domestic abuser. So I'm guessing the new guy that she married must have been abusing her and the kids.
Right.
So I didn't know what happened. And then my friend sent me an article that the husband was shot and killed in a domestic abuse fight. So I'm guessing she must have killed her husband.
Probably.
Unless one of the kids did, because she does have 2 boys that are older. So it doesn't specify in the article who killed him.
Got you.
But I'm like.
But somebody,
Whoa.
Wow.
Like things are crazy right now.
Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah.
Know. So I guess let me ask you, what's your advice, right? For, let's say, you know, people are struggling with hanging on to their marriage right now. Maybe they don't know if they want to get divorced or not. Like, what would your advice be?
I would say spend some time apart.
Okay.
Do a girlfriend's trip. Take the kids. You know, I know me and my daughter's mom are not together anymore, but perfect example is me and my daughter. We're going to do a daddy-daughter day. We're either going to go to Chicago for a long weekend together or go to San Francisco for a long weekend together.
Yeah.
That's what I would say, man. Like, go out with the fellas, you know. If do a staycation, get a group of guys and go to San Diego for a weekend the way me and Crispy and my friends do down here. Just get away, spend some time apart from each other.
Yeah, I think a weekend would be too short.
Maybe a week.
I'm thinking a few weeks.
Yeah, and if you have kids, switch off. You go for a week, he comes back, you know what I mean? You know, because some people may not be able to afford a week. So I'm just saying, if you could do a weekend, do a weekend. The next weekend, you keep the kids, have her go with her friends for the weekend.
Because the thing is, this is going to turn around at some point.
Yeah.
You know, so especially, you know, if you've committed to somebody, if you have kids, I would say even, you know, if you can afford it, even get your own place for a little while, maybe even a few months.
Yep.
But the other thing that this doesn't really have to do with COVID, this is just relationships in general. But the common denominator that I'm seeing with these relationships and people that are looking to get divorced is every single person I talk to blames the other person.
Right.
Right. And so it's never, because for a successful relationship, I remember my dad always said, you know, for a relationship and a marriage to be successful, you have to always put the other person first. Right. That's number 1. But number 2 is it takes 2 people for a marriage to fall apart. And all I am hearing, you know, from people right now with, you know, relationships, divorces, everything is like, you know, it's his fault, it's her fault, it's his fault, it's her fault. Right. No one is saying, well, you know, they want me to work on this and I'm going to try to work on this. You know, it's always the other person's fault. And so I just visited my aunt and uncle in Georgia, who they're like the happiest couple I know. I mean, they actually got married pretty young in their 20s, but they've always been pretty solid. I could tell there was a little bit of them being on top of each other too, because my uncle said to me at one point, he goes, I don't know what's going on with your aunt. She's been a little snippy with me this week.
Snippy.
But it's like, that's nothing compared to, you know, everything else.
Yeah.
But I said that to him, you know, because I said, what I'm noticing with my mother is it's always his fault, his fault, his fault. It's never like, oh, I need to work on something. Because I've talked to her and I'm like, you are being horrible to him. You are picking fights. You are being stubborn. You have to be right. Oh, he always has to be right. I'm like, no, you are the one who always has to be right. He doesn't listen. Like, people cannot look within themselves. Because I remember like when my stepmom and my dad got divorced too. And I, you know, and it was always them pointing the finger at each other. And I said to my stepmom, do you love him? Do you want to work this out? Because it's all ego, right? It's all, people have such big egos and they're so scared to look within themselves and say, you know what, I do have this thing I need to work on.
Right.
You know, because I said, you know, like my dad says, you belittle him. If you want to work on this marriage, then that's something you have to work on. And she was like, well, I only do it because he does this, you know, and it's
right.
That's not the right answer. The right answer is, okay, I'm going to work on that. You know, I'll try not to do that. And if she could have done it, they could have worked it out. Right. And same with him, you know, he's not easy either. But my uncle, when I was in Georgia, said to me, he goes, Rach, 90% of the problems my wife and I have, he goes, it's my fault. Like,
right.
I own that 100%. And like,
he takes responsibility. That's
awesome.
Yes.
Like, that's the mentality you have to have if you're going to be successful, you know? So that's my advice with people struggling right now. I think your advice is great. Like, definitely take time apart.
Take time apart. Take responsibility. That's number 2.
If you can't afford it, move into another bedroom, maybe.
Yeah. If you can't even afford to go for the weekend, move into another bedroom.
Yeah. Try to
maybe you have a buddy's house or a girlfriend's house. We don't mind you crashing for a couple of days because they're lonely and having a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can do that if you don't have any money.
Oh, I know. I've had friends like do weekend trips with me too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And you know what? If you have a breakdown, I wanted to add to taking responsibility. Don't evaluate each other. Don't tell each other how each other feels. Ask them how they feel. Don't say, well, you're doing this because of this. Say, hey, are you doing this? Ask the question and have the person answer you and take them for what they're telling you to be true.
Yeah.
You know don't evaluate each other.
And ask them what they need from you.
Exactly.
And don't argue with them. You know?
Right.
If they say, I think you do this, don't be like, well, I do this because you do this. No.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. Acknowledge what you do.
Right.
And take responsibility.
Take them out of the equation.
Yep.
Look within yourself. Be honest with yourself. Do I really do this?
Yep. That's it.
And even if you don't think you do, maybe you do. You know,
right.
Maybe look a little harder. Maybe
right.
ask a friend an honest answer. Maybe see a marriage counselor. I mean,
right.
Do what you got to do because you know at the end of the day, this whole thing is going to blow over, and you're going to be able to go back to work and live your normal life.
Exactly.
Your kids are going to go back to school, and so you don't want to rush into a decision that you might regret later, especially if you have kids. You know.
Right, guys, and if you're lost in your own sauce, maybe you don't see it. So if someone's telling you they see something, acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Even if you think you don't see it, hey, if you're seeing this, I got you. Let me take a look, and I'll work on that. Because I'm telling you, if they see it, it's probably true. But you're caught in your own sauce. So
totally.
You don't
your
really,
own sauce.
Yeah, that's what I like to say. So you don't really see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So all those are some great tips, man. Yeah. But I think number 1, get away. There's a way you can get away.
Right.
Definitely a way.
Even if you have to go to the basement.
Yeah. Even if you have to go to the basement, it's true. You should get away.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Go make a man cave out of your garage. If you
exactly. There's ways. There's ways to do it, man. Just get that time apart and just refocus. Take a deep breath because I know it'll work out. Especially if you couples that have been together for that long.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah. But the divorce rate in China was even higher.
It was even higher?
It was like close to 50%. Yeah.
Wow. Ever since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It's bad. So stick it out, guys.
Stick it out.
Try to do it.
Yep. Is that our show?
That's it.
It's always good seeing Rachel, guys. This Relationships, Romance, and Propaganda podcast. Always say, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, ISCT Group Digital. You know, and don't forget to follow us on social media. Everything will be in the description. It's great seeing you, Rach. Thanks for checking in. You look amazing as usual. I always say that. And someone was trying to riff on me for saying that. I'm like, she is hot. So what's wrong with me acknowledging it?
I appreciate it.
There's nothing wrong with me saying that. You know what I mean? I have a good looking co-host. Nothing wrong.
What did we get a mean comment or something?
Yeah, somebody said something to me. I forgot who. You always compliment Rachel. So what?
So? Yeah.
What problem do you have with it?
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's always nice to see Rach. And this will come out Wednesday though, because I'm switching to Wednesdays.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And we'll try and get together again before I go back to Baton Rouge.
So Wednesday. Oh, okay. Today's Thursday. Yeah.
Yeah. So almost a week from today. I'm going to try to get it on the right schedule. You know what I mean?
Right.
Unless you want me to put this out Monday and then start Wednesday, but then it'll be too hard for me to do that. You know, with the traveling.
No, that's okay. Well, because we might be shooting another one Monday.
That's what I'm saying. It'll be perfect. I'll have that for the next Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fine.
That sounds good. Okay. Always good to see you. Have a great weekend. I have this wedding in town this weekend, so it's going to be crazy for the next few days. Should be a good time. Yeah.
Right.
Me and Crispy are playing host for everybody. So this is the bachelor party I went to in Vegas. This is the same, a few weeks ago. Yeah, they're getting married in town. Yeah, so it should be a good time.
All right, have fun.
So we're signing off. Happy birthday. Have a blast. Get you some safe, COVID-free birthday sex if you can.
Probably not this weekend, but hopefully in the future.
Some COVID-free birthday sex. You know what I mean? Try and get you something lined up, and I'll talk to you soon. Have a safe trip.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.